So let's get into this episode, guys. In China, when you come down with the flu, you don't reach for NyQuil. When you've got a sore throat, it's not about antibiotics. When you can't sleep, it's not Ambien. For thousands of years, people have gone straight to their kitchens, scallions, ginger, pears, black sesame, and cooked up remedies that work as medicine. Today's guest, Dr. Felice Chan, is a rare voice who speaks both languages. She studied neuroscience in the West, but trained as a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine in the East. She's here to show us how your kitchen can be your medicine cabinet, and why Eastern and Western medicine aren't enemies, but maybe two halves of the same puzzle. I'm Sara Jane Ho, and this is Mind Your Manners, where no topic is off limits as we uncover the secrets to feeling at ease in every situation. Felice, welcome to the pod.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Sarah.
This episode is particularly meaningful to me because listeners out there, I just found out 5 minutes ago that Felice and I lived in the same apartment building, upstairs, downstairs, in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. And our parents worked together. Her father hired my mother to be his CFO of BMG in the music industry, Buttles Music Group, before it merged with Sony back in the day. And this is a really meaningful episode to me.
Yeah, likewise. Everything just comes back. It's the invisible strings.
It really does. And of course, this is about things that we're both passionate about, which is traditional Chinese medicine. So what was your childhood like growing up around TCM remedies in Hong Kong?
It's so interesting because as a kid, as I'm sure you know, when I was younger, I didn't really know what it was. It was just kind of handed to me. Let's say before I was 10 years old. It was teas, it was soups, it was medicines that were dark and bitter. And just like everyone here, I had no understanding, but I drank it. I ate everything because my parents or my grandparents would say, it's good for you.
And they don't tend to explain, right? They just
Exactly. They're like, just take it. I'm like, what is this? They're just like Chinese herbs or, in Cantonese, it's sugarcane drink. I'm like, great, But it was very much from the kitchen, right? It's food as medicine. We drank broth soup every single night, the Hong Kong soups, at every dinner. And that was the medicine and the Chinese medicine that was intertwined in our lifestyle.
Yeah, and I feel that every meal began with soup. Mm-hmm. Right? It was like the must-have.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it's a way of showing love in the family.
Yeah.
Like, your mother, the matriarch of the family, always had a soup planned. And yeah, it's almost like if somebody didn't make you soup, they don't love you enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the cook, it's the soup. I mean, every time my parents are visiting, which they are now, my dad loves to be in the kitchen, and he shows love by cooking. I remember we were going out last night, and he's like, but let me cook. I'm like, let's enjoy out. You can cook tonight.
Yes, and I can't wait to reconnect with your dad because I haven't seen him since I was probably 10 years old.
Yeah.
And then what inspired you to study neuroscience in the U.S. at Bowdoin College and then on to get a doctorate in Chinese medicine?
Neuroscience was something I was fascinated by because even in Hong Kong, the medicine that was presented to me was Western medicine, right? I think Chinese medicine was more so in the household and the lifestyle, as you know, but to traditionally study it, it was going to shadow doctors at hospitals. Even my closest neighborhood clinic, it's all Western based, right? All the top marks and, people get the top marks, go to the UK, they come back to the US or eat in Hong Kong to study medicine, right? And so that's what I was presented. So I spent a lot of summers in hospitals in Hong Kong, but also in the US because my aunt was a neuroradiologist. And so I spent a lot of summers with her team. And that was amazing. It really opened my eyes to the medical system, but also very much the nitty-gritty of neurosurgery. So I spent a lot of summers in the OR watching brain surgeries, back surgeries. I loved every bit of it. It was so fascinating, but also pediatric neurosurgery. So kind of being presented to the hardest part of medicine, and it was transformative. And the people that I was shadowing for years on end were incredible doctors, and so I knew in college, okay, this is what I want to do. And so I spent my undergrad studying pre-med neuroscience. I did a lot of studies and trials, looking at goldfish and their optic tectum and studying their visual cues about mating. It was a lot of fun, and it was fascinating to get into the nitty-gritty of neuroscience. But then that shifted to Chinese medicine. And I think after I graduated from college, I was working in a hospital and something clicked. It was like my spiritual awakening. It was almost like this crave for more mind, body, and soul and spirituality. And it was just like one day I woke up, I'm like, this is not the medicine for me. And I remember sitting on my bed crying. I'm like, this is the end of the world. This is not what I want to do anymore. And it's all I like wanted for so long. And when I went back to college, my mom went to counseling school for career counseling. So I called her. I said, can you help me out? And she was like, okay, I'm going to be your mother, but also I'm going to be your teacher. So let's do both. And everything led me back to medicine and kind of healthcare in a sense. And so Chinese medicine, to me, I'm like, it was something I grew up with. It's something that I loved, but I never really fully studied. And one day I pulled out all my applications from the allopathic traditional med school, and then I moved out to LA to go to Chinese medicine school here.
Wow. Because that's not a lot of people who study pre-med and Western, and especially sort of neuroscience, will then go literally the other way. And you said you were in college when you woke up overnight?
It was afterwards. I was working in a hospital in Boston then.
And you were how old?
I was probably, like 22?
22?
Yeah, 21,
wow.
22. And all I knew was Western medicine. But I think I was doing clinical trials as well in a hospital. It was all the Band-Aid solution. I was a little bit frustrated. And a lot of my patients had debilitating eczema. And they're like, the only thing that helps is acupuncture. And I was like, yeah, I know. It's amazing. Yeah.
I would love for you to meet Annie, who's my co-founder of Antivorta, because she actually also studied neuroscience. And now her family business is traditional Chinese medicine, though.
Yeah.
And now obviously she's doing, this TCM feminine care brand with me. So I think you two would get along like
I
a
love
house
that.
on
Yes.
fire.
Yes.
Can you walk us through how training in Western medicine differs from TCM training?
So when you think about Western medicine training, you have the 4 years of med school, right? And then you get placed into residency, and then
Which is seven years, right?
Yeah,
Residency?
I think it depends on what you want to do. I think in what specialty, and then you go on to be a doctor at a hospital. But it's pretty much set up in a very stringent manner where you are kind of set up for your life after med school, right? Traditional Chinese medicine is very different. It's still 4 years. I did a 4 years master's program and then did another year to get my doctorate, hence the doctor, right? And it was very much an integration of Western and Eastern, which I really wanted to understand. But because we live in the US and there's a whole political climate and, pharmaceutical climate around medicine, you are not really placed into a hospital after you graduate from Chinese medicine school, right? You have to find a job at existing clinics, or you have to start your own and be an entrepreneur.
Or find a sifu, right? A master.
Exactly, to study under, yes.
Yeah,
but it's
which is very Chinese, I
correct,
feel.
yeah. And I loved it, and I knew since the day one of school that I wanted to open my own clinic and my practice. It was almost just very clear to me, and so I knew that right away. But a lot of the students that I went to school with, they were not sure, right? And it's totally okay, and it's amazing that sometimes I'm like, maybe it's good to be unsure because then you're not kind of stuck on a path of entrepreneurship. Though I love it. But it's difficult to be a Chinese medicine doctor in the US because you go to school for 4 to 5 years, you have student debt, and then you're kind of thrown into a world where a lot of people are skeptical. I mean, it's a medicine that works, as we both know. And so to kind of make a living off it and to kind of keep pushing it out, it's really difficult. It's transformative, but I think you need a lot of resilience.
Yeah. And what are the greatest strengths of each medical system?
Western medicine is amazing because it's very much compartmentalized, right? You have experts for the heart, the kidneys, the lungs, muscles, bones, whatever it is. And I think you need that at certain moments and also for emergency medicine. And the amazing thing about Eastern medicine or Chinese medicine is that it's holistic. You see the body as a whole, and you're able to really get to the root cause and understand why so many cascading symptoms are happening by addressing what is really deep in the root.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I feel that Western medicine it's immediate, right? So if you're in an emergency or if you're, you need to save your life, you kind of go for the jugular, and Western medicine will just do that. And then Eastern medicine is about the prevention and the balance so that you don't even get to that place where you need, ideally, Western medicine.
I love that. Yeah, it's prevention, but it's also amazing for now Western issues, right? I always have to tell my patients, yes, it is a preventative medicine in nature, and ideally in the world, if we were able to adopt it here, no one would get sick, right? But it's also an amazing medicine to help kind of reverse whatever is happening, right? If you are diagnosed with something in the Western pathology standpoint.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that since moving to LA about a year ago, I've noticed that a lot of Western clinics or hospitals are actually integrating TCM principles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I love it. It makes me so happy. I think people are realizing, and especially the Western world, that acupuncture and Chinese medicine works. And it's mostly the integration of acupuncture within the hospital system, because herbs in itself, it's difficult, right? It's kind of
it's hard
battles
to regulate,
pharmaceuticals,
maybe.
of course. And then there's all, these interactions that most Western doctors don't understand, and we do because we have to learn it. So it gets tricky. But acupuncture, it's such an amazing pair or conjunctive medicine to Western medicine, whether it's for pain, for eczema, as we mentioned before, I think for a lot of plans, especially at the VA or at different hospitals, they're kind of sifting it out now, and it's wonderful.
And what about in terms of pharmaceuticals? Are they starting to use more Chinese-inspired herbs, or not really?
Yes. I mean, now that modern research is catching up, right?
Yeah.
They're saying that even something like huanglian, which is, I think, Coptidis rhizoma, I think that's the name of it.
So that's Huanglian
yes.
for our listeners out there. Huanglian.
I mean, there's so much deep research and all of the, biochemicals that are in that herb itself and what it's great for the body. And they've kind of extracted that for certain pharmaceuticals.
What is it good for? What are the
so
benefits?
in Chinese medicine, we say that it clears the damp heat in the belly area, in the abdomen, right?
So it's good for women, right? If you have damp
Exactly.
heat down
Exactly. Or if you have like belly aches, stomach pains, too much hot acid reflux. It clears all this heat and inflammation. And so inflammation in Western medicine is tied to everything that is wrong in the GI system. And so it's been amazing for gut health, for IBS, for, constipation, for example.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
And so we're starting to see pharmaceutical companies use that. That's so great. Finally. I mean, it's been slow, but at least it's heading in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when did you open your own clinic right here in LA in Culver City?
I opened my clinic 2 years ago, actually, probably, what day is it today? Like exactly 2 years ago, probably this week. It was like October 11th or 12th or something like that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what I love about your clinic is, well, it's charming, first of all, but also you do fire cupping, like the legit fire cupping, as opposed to the plastic suction cupping.
It's so much more beneficial for the body because you actually have the heat, right? And the heat draws out the toxins, and you use glass cups, and it's just traditional, It reminds me of home. It makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's get into kitchen pharmacy for everyday ailments. I'd like to talk about some of the remedies hiding in our fridge that have been used in China for generations to soothe, strengthen, and restore. Can you explain how scallion and ginger tea works to fight off early stage colds?
So scallions and ginger are herbs that are what we say the category where it expels pathogens, right? And expels what we say a wind cold. So meaning when we have a flu, that we have the chills, a runny nose, maybe an itchy sore throat, not a sore throat. Those particular herbs like ginger and scallions are hot in nature. And so hot combats cold. So when you have a cold and you drink a ginger tea or throw ginger tea into congee or have scallions, it's going to expel it. And it basically opens up your pores as well to make you sweat out all of the toxins.
And so those external pathogens are things that should be sweated out.
Yeah.
Right? So sweating's actually good for you guys.
Yes. Yes. Sweating, especially if you are initially sick, right? And in Chinese medicine, we always have different stages of a cold. And this is like when something's first happening, right? If you first notice a tickle in the throat or first notice that you're sneezing, drink ginger tea. It's going to knock it out, But it depends. Like, let's say you're 4 or 5 days into a flu and it's kind of transient now and it's shifted to maybe a sinus headache or congestion, then I would recommend other herbs.
Yeah, for me, because you know when it's coming.
Yeah.
Right? You feel it.
Yeah.
And that's where I nip it in the bud. So I do what you say. Well, I drink ginger brew all the time, but I double down on it. And then I go to bed at 9 p.m. And I just pass out. And usually by the morning,
you feel better.
Yeah, totally, completely better. Okay, next one. Why do pears and fritillaria syrup help with coughing or postnasal drip?
Ooh, this is a great one. It's because pears in general and fritillaria syrup It's really nourishing for the throat and the lungs, and it cools everything. It doesn't just cool all of that heat we feel, let's say when we have a sore throat or an itchy throat or kind of losing our voice, but it also nourishes our yin, which is the fluids that we need, right? And so by eating pear, and as we know, it's not really raw, it's either cooked,
yeah,
steamed,
or stewed.
stewed
Yep.
in a tea. Like I love chopping up pear, putting it in water, throwing in some like goji berries as well and drinking it. It's so amazing.
Yeah, and so pears in China, everybody's known that they've moistened the lungs.
Yeah, exactly.
And that also helps with grief.
Yes.
But I remember whenever I had a hacking cough, dry cough, hacking cough, where it just really hurts down to your lungs, pear soup was just the most amazing thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's so healing.
Yeah. All right, next one. Is there anything for clearing congestion and snoring?
Yes. Congestion, a couple congestion. I think, let's think about the phlegm that's kind of stuck in our throat first. I mean, this is less Chinese medicine specific, but thyme is amazing to clear phlegm, especially, at the thyme and water, drink it.
Oh, so do you boil the thyme in water? So you take the herb thyme.
Yeah, and you can steep it in tea for, let's say, 7-8 minutes, or you can boil it. Yeah, and it's amazing, and it helps dissipate phlegm.
Wow, I've never tried that. Guys, a new tip to get rid of phlegm in your lungs.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And because I know my listeners like to get super specific, they'll be like, how much time? How many sprigs? Da 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 da. How often should I be drinking it? Give us the whole load. So how much time?
Probably between a teaspoon and a tablespoon worth. And
of just the little
just the little
leaves?
yeah, exactly.
And for our listeners out there, this is thyme that's spelled THYME, not like the time of your watch time. And it's this amazing little herb. Usually I have it with steak.
Yes, and mushrooms, yum.
Yeah, usually you use it as a garnish in steak. But I guess if you have phlegm, you take all the little leaves, about a teaspoon or a tablespoon's worth, and you just dunk it in hot water.
Yeah.
And do you boil it together, or you just let it kind of
steep? I think it depends. If it's the dry version, I think to steep is fine. But if it's fresh, I like to boil it.
Right, and it's always better to have it fresh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
exactly.
Okay, wow. And then how often should we be drinking it?
I think you can drink it a few times a day, probably for a few days until the phlegm starts to dissipate.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then what about snoring? My husband really needs this one because he snores.
It's so interesting because when we think about snoring and breath, it really shapes and changes the structure of your jaw and your neck, right? So a lot of people with neck pain, they'll have a shift in their jaw, they'll have snoring, and then obviously further down the line, sleep apnea, a lot of people with sleep apnea will have a little hump in their back. So everything is about structure of their body and their face,
Right.
but it's also kind of positioning their body in a different way, but it's also breath work. Literally, let's say 5 minutes of deep diaphragmatic breath work every single day is one of the best things for snoring. I wish there's an herb or whatnot, but I have found that figuring out the structure and changing the way that we actually breathe through our nose is the best way possible.
I actually do breath work. I mean, I should do it more. I probably do it once a week now. And I do holotropic breath work, but is there, do you just, by breath work, do you just mean deep breathing?
Yeah, just deep breathing, 5 slow counts in and 5 slow counts out, and breathing in, making sure the belly expands, and breathing out, making sure it deflates, meaning the diaphragm is active, and only through in and out the nose, because in Chinese medicine, we always say qi comes from the nose, and we breathe through the nose rather than the mouth.
Listeners, got that? If you want more tea, breathe through the nose. What happens in the body when you drink jujube and longan tea for sleep?
Oh, I just did this last night, and I ate longan fruit. I was in H Mart last night with my parents, and I was like, I have to get this.
H Mart being the Asian supermarket where Chinese people get all their food.
Yeah, and Korean tuna, it's perfect. We were in Cape Town too. So jujube dates and longan. Jujube dates, we say it boosts our qi, which is our energy, but also boosts our blood. And longan fruit, it boosts our blood, but also calms our shen, which is our spirit. Shen spelled S-H-E-N, but our spirit. And so when we think of our spirit and our shen in Chinese medicine, it's kind of our anxiety. It's kind of what makes us restless at night, even our anxiety. So it calms anxiety, and it helps sleep, and it nourishes the blood. So these 2 herbs paired together in a tea is so wonderful for sleep, but also wonderful to nourish women, especially after a bleed.
Oh, so when after the end of your period, when it's clean, then you drink this soup, or drink this brew.
Exactly. Or you can start day 3 or 4 when it starts to trickle a little bit, because everything you lose, let's say through menstruation, you have to boost back up. Like in Chinese medicine, we're always taught to, you after the period, we have to do things to boost it up, but we're not really taught that in the Western world. So what can we do? So obviously, we love the blood nourishing foods like the beef, steaks or beef broth or stews. But a lot of, vegans and vegetarians out there, you can have longan fruit and jujube dates, and they usually come dried, and you just put them in hot water, boil it for like 10, 15 minutes and drink it.
Yeah. And because I do my red date ginger goji berry brew, but in the morning, because according to TCM, you're not supposed to have ginger at night because ginger's warming and hot and will affect your sleep in a bad way, will make you restless because your shin will not be calm.
Exactly. It's just too moving.
So it's great for our listeners to know, those who are wanting to do a nighttime brew to help you sleep, jujube and longan helps you sleep.
Yes.
Calms the spirit. Love that. So black sesame paste. This is interesting because in one of my early podcasts, and for our listeners out there, you probably listened to Reversing Gray Hair.
This is so funny.
That actually, I didn't anticipate that clip I put on my social media went so viral, where I talked about how black sesame helps reverse gray hair slowly. And afterwards, a whole slew of like black sesame videos came out, which I thought was so fantastic because we do need more content of this type. And I grew up in Hong Kong as you did, because we grew up upstairs, downstairs, without knowing it at the time. We knew black sesame paste as a dessert, right? It's it's a sweet dessert that was so yummy. And in TCM, it's actually considered medicinal.
Exactly.
So tell us about black sesame paste and what it does for us.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's so funny that you mention it because I only started TikTok this March, and my viral reel that went viral was black sesame I sprinkled all on my toast, talking about the benefits. And for some reason, it was like, no makeup in the morning. It just blew up. So I get it, which is amazing. So black sesame in traditional Chinese medicine, we say that it nourishes the blood, which we talked about, and your yin, which is all the fluids in our body's cooling system. And we lose it as we get older, especially for women in their perimenopause, menopause state. We need this yin. So black sesame is amazing at boosting that. But it also goes to the liver and kidneys. And the liver and kidneys in Chinese medicine are so essential for our vitality, for aging, hence graying hair, right? And so when we think about aging and graying hair from a Western standpoint, you can even look at labs. There's a lab value called the GFR function. It's the filtration rate of the glomerulus. I can't ever say that word. And it's interestingly tied to aging, and how your genetics and how long you'll live, right? A higher, let's say, number of the GFR rate means that you might live longer. And it's very much tied to kidney health in Chinese medicine, where if the kidney jing, which is their essence, or kidney vitality is strong, then we don't have gray hair and we age better. And so black sesame seeds boost that. It's great for aging, and it's great at reversing gray hair.
So all these things, listeners, you're probably wondering, where do you buy them? You can buy them on Amazon. Or go to H Mart, where Dr. Felice was just last night. The Asian supermarkets, you'll find all of this good stuff. Is there any of your favorite stores or brands?
Brands, I mean, it's hard to, a lot of people ask, I think, as long as you find something organic here.
Yeah,
it's the best you can do.
It's interesting, for Chinese people, we don't really follow a brand. I think following a brand is a very Western thing.
Yeah.
And even in Hong Kong or China, we really just go to the market.
Yeah. I mean,
and there are these unbranded little shops that have all the herbs out there, usually manned by a very little old lady or a very little old man. And they have this weighing scale, and you're just picking out the red dates, the jujubes, the longan, whatever, and they're weighing it. And that's kind of what we grew up with. So I also, when my followers ask me, what brand do you use? I'm like, well, I mean, I don't really. But I go into Amazon and anything organic, like you said.
Amazon, or, I mean, honestly, I use the WEE delivery service, like WEE.
Yes, I met the founder of that. They do very well now.
It's amazing. It's because they are able to source from all the Asian markets. And so if I don't have time to drive to Chinatown or Decade Town, I'll be like, I would love these in my pantry. I'll just kind of mark it and pick it. And a lot of the brands I recognize, right? The Chinese words, but you can't really translate that here because it's mostly imported.
So guys, download the WEE app, WEE. This episode should be sponsored by WEE. And then you just sift through and choose what you want, especially if you're living in places that like LA is kind of hard to drive around. Like driving to K-Town's like half an hour. So then you can have stuff delivered to you. I need to download WEE.
It's great for hot pot too. Like when I want hot pot at home, I'll literally just put everything in. It delivers either like the next day or the night of. It's wonderful.
Next thing I want to dive into is TCM miracles.
Yeah.
When nothing else worked. And in Hong Kong, so my mom was diagnosed with liver cancer and she passed away from it. But as a last resort, in the process, we discovered a TCM doctor in Mong Kok, which is a part of Hong Kong that is it a red light district? I don't know.
Used to be, yeah, right next to Wan Chai too, kind of, yes.
Yeah, well, Mong
back
Kok
in the
is
day.
now a gentrified red light district in Hong Kong, and a very famous doctor, which Apple Daily, Pinggo Yapo, called a San Yi. They called him a god doctor, actually, because of, everybody kind of went to see him.
Yeah.
Celebrities, politicians, this and that. His name was Ma Hanzhao, so we call him Ma Sifu. Sifu, for our listeners out there, master in Cantonese is Sifu, or in Mandarin is Shifu. So we always call him, Master Ma, so we call him Ma Sifu. And when you go to his place, and I would go to every time I went back, he's actually since passed away, but back then the line would snake around the block.
Wow.
No reservations, first come, first serve. The line snaked down through the elevator bank and around the block, and everybody queues, everybody waits. My dad would run up to queue and then tell me to join at a certain time.
I love that.
And then when you go in, it was one big room, no private rooms. It was stools, just lines and lines of stools. So everybody sits on these stools. And then Master Ma or Dr. Ma would just walk from person to person. And he'd diagnose you. And sometimes, he's supposed to do the
pulse.
Feel the pulse. He wouldn't even feel it. I mean, he'd do it, I think, just to look like he's actually doing something. But I think he just read with energy.
Yeah.
And there was a time where, and my dad told me the story, there was a woman who came and she was sick and very ill. And he took one look at her across the room and said, "How many abortions have you had?"
Wow.
And she said, 4.
Wow.
And he said, "I know, because I see the spirits of the babies clinging to you."
Oh my goodness.
And then he performed some kind of exorcism, and then she was fine. So
I love that thoroughly.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And I feel, I would love to know, for you, what is the most jaw-dropping case you've ever seen where Western doctors had no answers and TCM turned it around? Anything you've seen or anything that you've done for your customers, your clients?
Yes. To me, it's a lot of emotional, I would say, presentations that a lot of Western medicine couldn't figure out, right? When we think about emotions in Chinese medicine, emotions are the basis of how our body truly changes physiologically, right? We are happy, our heart rate increases, we feel joy, it's amazing, right? When we're sad, everything kind of slows down, we feel it in our chest, our heart. And I think we need to be more intuitive in how every emotion makes us feel, because in Chinese medicine, we have an understanding of that. And so when a lot of emotional pathologies or issues get stored in the body, in the fascia, or as trauma, it will present itself in so many different ways. For everyone, it's a little bit different. There's one case in particular where there's a patient who came in and had asthma for a while, all tied to the lungs and grief, but also trauma. And unexplained asthma would carry, kind of an inhaler here and there, didn't really have to use it, but didn't really know how to breathe ever, never learned how to breathe. And she came in and I put a few acupuncture points on the thighs. This is like master tongue points, like sima, zhong, xia, and shang.
Okay, so for our listeners out there who can't see, and this is why everybody should watch the YouTube video, it's Dr. Felice is pointing to her outer thigh.
Kind of like the corner, the 45 degree of the thigh. And if you go all the way down, you're gonna hit the main bone, right? And so it's about kind of where your fingertips lie when you put your hand straight. So let's say it's in the middle of the thigh. So this is sima, zhong, which is the middle point. We have xia, which means below, right? And shang, which means above. And so they're about 3 finger widths below and above.
Yeah.
And so there's 3 points, which meaning if you massage deep into your thigh, you're gonna really, really open up these channels too, and it goes up into your lungs, right?
Right, because for our listeners out there, of course, acupuncture is where you go to a licensed professional and like Dr. Felice, and she would put in acupuncture needles. But if you're home alone, you can press the acupuncture pressure points on your own. So it's DIY. Okay, so if you do that.
Yes, exactly, DIY. And you get a similar sensation if you massage for 2 to 3 minutes rather than stick a needle in there, right?
Right.
And so you can really get a knuckle in there, or even a
Theragun.
Exactly, because it's your thigh, it's a big muscle.
Yeah.
And it just opens up all the channels in your lungs. And so people with asthma or breath, within like an instant they can breathe, that they'll take a deep breath on the table.
Oh, wow.
And they'll cry. And so this patient, deep breath, cried, basically released so much energy. And I was just standing there. I was like, all right, just like, you're safe, you're here, but release it all, and it transformed. And like since then, she can breathe deep into her belly, a lot of emotions that she never thought she had to process. She processed through the next like few times. And of course, she came back to see me. But that was one of the, I think, first times in her life where she's like, wow, I feel lighter. I can breathe again.
Yeah, and the emotional release, which, crying is the release of cortisol.
Yeah.
So it's good to cry. I think I cry every other day now. And not of bad things, but out of like sort of the awe or inspiration or beauty of something. I just start bawling, usually during meditations. So I can only imagine if, for your whole life you can't breathe properly because you have asthma, to then take your first breath. That is so powerful.
Yeah. And it's the chi. It's the, air chi and the breath of chi, which gives you, it's almost like an awakening. It's your body has shifted into like a new dimension of healing.
Yeah. What about things like chronic migraines or infertility or autoimmune issues? Give us another story.
Let's say infertility. I think it's a big one, and Chinese medicine is so wonderful and beneficial and effective for fertility. When we think about fertility in Chinese medicine, it's all about our womb, right? And how warm it is, as you know. And when you think about our body's warm-blooded. In order to house a baby or a fetus, we need to be warm. It needs to feel comfortable. And a lot of the times, especially in the Western world, women's wombs are not warm. They are cold because of the way that we eat here, the diet, the way
which is the raw salads, which is the ice cold drinks.
Yes, the smoothies, walking around barefoot, as we talked about.
Terrible for you.
All of that makes the womb so cold. And so when it's cold, it's not structured to hold a baby. And so the thought about infertility, and of course there's so many, layers to it and nuances, but in general, it's that the womb isn't warm enough. And so through Chinese medicine, through acupuncture, through moxibustion, which is an herb that we burn and hold over a needle because it's so warming, and warm Chinese herbs will warm the womb.
Yeah, I love moxibustion. And for our listeners out there, moxibustion, it kind of looks like a cigar.
Yeah.
And it's a smoking cigar, and it never touches your skin, but it goes very close and really just goes around the problem points, right? The problem areas.
Correct. And a lot of the times it's like in our womb, it's below our belly button, right?
Yeah.
And what's amazing in Chinese medicine is that moxibustion, it's a herb called mugwort. And it almost comes dried. It feels like cotton. So when it's not in a cigar, you can also get it in its like raw form, not packed. And you can even like twirl it in your hands or put it on a piece of ginger on your belly button, let's say, if you're having a belly ache. And so it's really fun. Obviously do it with a practitioner. I wouldn't recommend doing it at home because it's hot and
even
fiery.
I don't do it at home, and I do a lot of things at home. Like I'll do acupuncture on myself at home sometimes.
Then you just have to be taught it.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm self-taught.
No, but that's amazing, and I mean, and you know it, yeah.
It's so interesting for me because I studied in the States and then I left for well over a decade. I was in China, starting my etiquette school, doing my business over there, and then when I came back over here to the States, and I realized, whoa, a lot of my American friends who have never been to China, they're not Chinese, right? They're white, they're black, whatever they are. And they either all were doing acupuncture, or they all, everybody knows somebody who couldn't have a baby and then did acupuncture and now has 2 kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, listen, it speaks for itself. And so many people, they turn to Eastern medicine as a last resort because Western medicine tells them we can't help you, or you need to go for a surgery or do something very invasive. And so then as a last result, usually their peers will be like, well, you try acupuncture, try herbs, try this, try that. And then it works.
Yeah. I mean, in an ideal world, I wish the medical system here encouraged acupuncture as a part of their wellness routine rather than go to acupuncture when all else fails. Yes, it's so important and beneficial when you do find acupuncture or Chinese medicine as your last resort. But if you can seek it earlier, your body's going to transform, just the way that you feel, the health, your vitality, your, mental health, everything. It just is more balanced.
Yeah, I feel amongst my American friends, the top 3 reasons they go to acupuncture for are fertility, digestion, and mental, like sort of anxiety. And what I love about acupuncture is that you don't even have to take any medicines, right? It's
all natural.
Yeah. So in fact, I even prefer acupuncture to herbs, because herbs you have to, there's still a process where you put it in water. I know I'm lazy, and then you also have to, like, there are all the dietary restrictions that you can't, things you can't eat when you're on the herbs.
Yeah, like the coffee, the garlic, stuff like that. But
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of acupuncture. Why? So just now you mentioned that the West overlooks a lot of these. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just the way that Western science is, right? It's based off science, which is a medicine that is proven to then to be disproven, right? It's just based off a completely different system of medicine. Whereas Chinese medicine and Eastern medicine, it like runs in parallel. In my doctoral program, we kept talking about, do they run in parallel or do they integrate in certain ways? And it was a debate constantly where some people are like, of course it's integrative. And some people are like, oh, it's never going to mesh. And that's why it's hard to mesh in the Western world. And I think the reasoning for that is that Chinese medicine is individualized. It looks at the body and a certain person as who they are. Person A with infertility versus person B with infertility, they're going to be treated with different acupuncture points, different herbs, different lifestyle advice, and different food, right? Chinese nutrition. And Western medicine looks at kind of the pathology as a whole and then puts like the 10 people under that pathology under the same bucket. And so because of that, it's very different. And I always like to give the example of modern research and, let's say, clinical trials. A lot of people on my, page will be like, can you send me the study for this herb or this acupuncture point? I'm like, sure, there's a lot right now. There's decades worth, so let me share it with you. But it's hard for me to say in a comment section, by the way, the fact that clinical research shows that these few points worked for everyone with digestion or everyone with fertility or everyone with headaches shows that this medicine is even more powerful than it is. Because in reality, when you come to see a Chinese medicine doctor, if you have gut issues, it's going to be specific to why you have it, the root. Is it mental health related? Is it because of some imbalance somewhere else? Is it stress? Is it your heart? Whatever it is, because we have our understanding. They're able to target those specific points as well, besides the same 5 points you use in a study, right? Because a study, it's so stringent. It's 30 people. They all get the same 5 points over the course of 8 weeks, and they all get better. There's always a statistical significance, and it shows that acupuncture works. And it's fascinating because you're almost breaking down Chinese medicine to almost like 1/10 of what it really is through modern research.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Western medicine standardizes everything. So they kind of give the same medicine to people, but who have different constitutions, right?
Yes, exactly.
Or different ages or different genders even. Yeah. In fact, I feel a lot of Western clinical research just does a lot of stuff based off of men. Even Tylenol, all the clinical studies were based off of men.
Cold plunging too.
Many of they're twice the weight of a woman. Correct. Or etc. And all these, and they don't have periods
and
right?
hormones.
Yep. Yeah, they don't have the hormonal fluctuations, which is why they choose men for the clinical studies. Correct. But then, what about the other half of the population over here? And it's such a great point you said that TCM is customized. And so every herb formula you get or acupuncture session you get is based on you as an individual. That is so great, so enlightening. Okay, let's talk about some of our body's hidden clues. How does the tongue serve as a health diagnostic tool in TCM? Right, what are the different coatings, the colors, or the cracks?
So in Chinese medicine, the tongue is the only internal organ we can see externally. And so because of that, it gives us an indication of what's happening inside. Like if we were able to open up our bodies and see our lung health, actually see the organs itself, there's going to be different coloring to it, different coatings as well. So let's just first look at our tongue. And it's very tied to our digestive system. So in Chinese medicine, we look at the tongue coating, the tongue color, the tongue shape, for the most part, right? And everything gives us an indication of what's happening. For example, let's say you look at the tongue body, not even at the coating right now, just the body, you can see it from underneath the coating. If it's pale, for example, it means that you're blood deficient or qi deficient. It means, I see this a lot for women who are a little bit anemic. A lot of vegans or vegetarians, their tongue is pale. And it means they just have to more jujube dates or goji berries or more red meat, and their energy is better, and then their periods, level out.
Yeah, because that's the blood. That helps the blood.
Exactly, and it's also blood circulation. So a lot of people with pale tongues will also have cold hands, cold feet. It's all tied. The next thing we look at is coating. So I think one of the most common coatings I see is the thick white coating right now. A lot of people are just like, there's this coating, I scrape my tongue and it never goes away. I do it every morning. And in Chinese medicine, scraping your tongue is just a Band-Aid solution. I don't do it. I'm just like, it's,
I don't scrape my tongue. I just brush my tongue.
Yeah.
So after brushing my teeth, then I'll do like 2-3 brushes of my tongue.
Yeah. And it's totally okay. And I think it's more so, where is that coming from, right? And a thick white tongue coating means that there's coldness and damp in the body. And it's because of all of the cold foods that we're eating in society, right? It's the salads, the ice drinks, and everything makes it cold. And when there's cold, it stagnates our digestion. Nothing moves. Everything is stuck. And so phlegm starts to develop and this coating starts to develop. And it's almost tied to like on the far end of it, like candida, right? It's all of the fungal and bacterial kind of overgrowth.
The parasites, all that stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And with parasites too, the tongue coating gets a little bit more patchy as well. It changes. And then the yellow, if it's more yellow, that means that there's more heat. It happens when someone is sick, for example, if they have like COVID, the tongue coating gets like thick and yellow.
Right, or fever, right?
Exactly.
If you have the flu or the fever.
It becomes yellowy. Yeah. And then so the next thing is the tongue shape. So the tongue shape, it could be, thin, puffy, thick. I think what I see a lot and what I have too, which I'm totally okay in Canada about, is teeth marks. And teeth marks meaning that the tongue is a little bit puffy, that it kind of fills out the mouth shape, and that you have teeth marks on the side. We say scallop tongue.
So it's not smooth sides. It's kind of it looks like like bitten.
Yeah,
sides.
exactly. And it's so funny. Dentists will be like, "Oh, it's just the structure of your mouth." I'm like, "No, there's way more to it. It's about your digestion." And we say your spleen's energy in Chinese medicine. So the spleen or the stomach, which is your digestive organs in Chinese medicine, it's supposed to transform food and fluids. And when it's weaker, the fluids can't transform. So everything gets kind of stuck and stagnant, and water builds up and puffs your tongue, hence why it gives you teeth marks.
So you have that.
Yeah.
I have the other thing, which is I do get a white coating sometimes, which means I have dampness. And also I have cold hands, cold feet.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the coldness.
And also in Hong Kong, the air conditioning is so freaking cold.
Oh my gosh.
Same with Singapore.
Yeah.
It's just, you walk into a mall, like in Hong Kong, I'm bound to get sick, even if it's the height of summer.
Yeah.
Because
I'll wear like a down jacket in the summer.
Yeah, you have to bring a cardigan everywhere where you go, in all the offices.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they do that, but that's why so many women in Hong Kong also have dampness and cold and everything.
Yeah, the AC,
Yeah.
And
so,
aircon is just, I love also how you say aircon. I used to get made fun of. They're like, what's aircon? I'm like, it's
air conditioning?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
No, I love it. It just reminds me of home.
And since we have mostly female listeners, if you ever get into an argument with your hubbies, because usually men want the AC on, my husband, he likes it to blast the AC, and I like no AC. And so this is an argument you can use.
Yeah, because
you need to be fertile.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
You need to make babies.
Okay, what does your poop say about you in TCM?
Yes. Oh, I love talking about stools. It's so funny. Some people walk in and be like, this is TMI. I'm like, I love it. It's just because it gives me information.
Yes, and I take a glance at my stool every day after tossing.
So
I'm equally obsessed. Equally obsessed.
Stool health gives, again, a lot of indication of what imbalances are happening in your body. I'll give some examples. For example, if you have loose stools or diarrhea all the time, it just means that your spleen's energy is really weak. It can't really form the stools, but it's also cold, right? When you think about coldness, everything in your body, it just can't form. The opposite is constipation, where there's too much heat here, or your emotions are holding everything in. That's when the stools are harder, right? And so it gives an indication of like, okay, is it too little fluids? Is there emotion, kind of binding everything in?
Stressed.
Or what's causing that heat? And emotions can cause heat, right? Because everything is stuck.
So like anger. What are the emotions
stress,
that can cause heat?
Frustration. And a lot of the times we see an emotionally kind of triggered type of constipation, where if someone is, we say a liver qi stagnation, right? It just means that they're holding all their stress in, because the liver in Chinese medicine is the organ that holds our stress, anger, and frustration. And if they can't process that, the energy in our belly can't move. And so everything gets stuck and constipation happens. And so that's what happens. And a lot of times that we also call it like goat pellet stools, where it's like little pebbles. It's when it's an emotional trigger to why you have constipation.
Wow. And so if, let's say, your stools are too loose, what can we do? What should we be eating?
It's just cut out all the cold raw foods, right? It's the hot water, it's the cooked foods that will transform your stools.
And that's funny because, like, even let's say if you're constipated, you should still drink the hot water. Because if let's say I'm traveling, and as me and Kelsey often say, like, things are not moving that well when you're when you're traveling. when you're on the road, then I just drink more hot water, and then I no, guaranteed I'm pooping.
Yeah.
So I guess no matter what your stool is, if it's you're constipated or if it's diarrhea, you should just drink hot water.
And I think yes, because when we think about hot water, it first hits the stomach and spleen, right? Before it hits the large intestine where the stools are kind of, sitting for a little bit. And so hot water, what it does is that it strengthens the spleen's energy to transform and transport, right? Mm-hmm. And so when that is strong, then it can transform and transport that energy and all of the food that we don't need to pass to the large intestine. So yes, hot water is great because it kind of triggers and primes the initial kind of cascading, let's say, path to good stools.
See, guys? I knew I was onto something. Hot water is my answer for everything.
It's so good.
So how do seasons affect what we should be eating, and why does that matter?
So in Chinese medicine, we are nature beings. So in a sense, we have to regulate what we eat according to seasons, but also according to the environment around us. For example, if it's winter and it's cold, our body is going to naturally be colder. It's when our body needs to hibernate and rest more. So how can we nourish our bodies? How can we increase that yang or heat in our body? So wintertime, it's amazing to have beef stews, lamb stews, hot water all the time, and omit the cold things, because then more damp will happen in your body. Then you'll start to get sick and get, colds that always happen during wintertime because people are too cold in general. On the contrary, let's say summertime. Summertime is hot. We are naturally warmer. So how can we balance our bodies? We don't want too much heat, because too much heat can cause things like insomnia, rashes, skin issues, inflammation. But it's not drinking cold water, ice cold water, because as you know, it almost causes like a paradoxical situation in the gut where it creates more heat and inflammation. But how can you actually drink and eat foods that are cooling in nature? For example, cucumbers, watermelon at room temp, right, is probably the only like raw and cold fruit. I'm like, it's okay in the summertime when it's blazing hot LA, but peppermint tea, because peppermint is so cooling for the body.
Yeah, and it's important for our listeners to remember that when we say a food is cold or hot, it's not about the temperature, it's about the nature.
Yeah, the nature of it and the energetics of it.
My dad in the summertime, well, actually all year round, but it's good for you in the summertime, likes to eat bitter melon.
Yeah, ooh, that's a good one.
Right, so for Chinese people in the summertime, why do they eat bitter melon?
Because bitter melon is cooling, right? So bitter in Chinese medicine, so every flavor in Chinese medicine as well, whether it's bitter, sour, sweet, has an energetic component. Bitter drains. So bitter drains out all of the sweat and the heat that you're holding on to. It's also so amazing for liver detox. So a lot of times when they're like, people come, they're like, my liver's stagnant, I'm stressed. I'm like, have some bitter melon. It's great for you. And it makes sense because it's the complete opposite of what summertime is, right? It's cold versus hot.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to some beauty hacks. Mm-hmm. What are some simple everyday beauty or wellness practices from TCM that people can try at home?
We're going to go back to this hot water. It's one of the best things for skin. Because when we think about hot water, right? Hot water helps nourish your gut. And now there is endless research about gut and skin connection. If you have a healthy gut, you have healthy skin.
Which makes sense.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we always, in Chinese medicine, we say the lining of our gut is the same as the lining of our skin, our external skin. And so whatever is on our external skin is what that gut lining is, right? So if we can strengthen that with the hot water and the nourishing foods, your skin's going to be great. When I had actually debilitating acne maybe 3-4 years ago for like 6 months after birth control. I was on hormonal birth control for about 10 years. I got off of it. Obviously, from Chinese medicine standpoint, I'm like, I know exactly what's happening. My mood was all over the place, but I had acne, like pretty bad for the first time in my life, adult acne. And I very much resorted to only Chinese medicine herbs, acupuncture, changing my lifestyle, eating better foods, managing my stress. And one of the first things I had to do was strengthen my gut, for let's say 2-3 months, cut out all the salads and smoothies. Not that I have that anyways a lot, but all ice water. I made sure everything was stewed, steamed, and nourishing for my gut. And I actually introduced a probiotic. I always say a mix of West and East is good, but I needed something to propel me to heal my gut. And I no longer take probiotics. It was like a 6-month stint. I no longer take any of the herbs or the supplements that I did then. But you have to heal your gut.
Yeah. Growing up in Hong Kong, one of our housekeepers had really bad acne. And I remember my mother, because my mother was forever taking different herbal formulas, and you cook them at home and they smell foul, like you said. So you take the herbs, you add 5 bowls of water, and you cook them for like 2 hours. And so our housekeeper would be cooking this in the kitchen, And after 3 months, just from making my mother's herbal medicine,
see.
all her skin
Oh, I love
cleared, and it
that.
was just from inhaling because there's a lot of condensation.
Yes, and kind of the steam on the face.
Yeah.
Hence why herbs are so good externally for the skin as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for listeners out there, I do get a lot of questions of those of you with eczema or acne. Hot water, again, answer to everything, and try a herbal formula.
Yeah.
You know, one of my Hong Kong girlfriends, she used acupuncture to make her face skinny.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
and she said it just worked wonders. She did a couple sessions. Tell us about that.
On the face specifically or all over
Yeah,
the body?
because we all want to look skinny.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh my gosh, it's so interesting because there's a new, it's not new, it's kind of like reawakened of cosmetic acupuncture and facial acupuncture and what it really is, right? So a New York Times article wrote about this a few months ago. It kind of resurfaced after 5 years ago of, you know, is cosmetic acupuncture the new Botox? And
right?
what
Oh
that
yeah, I
means.
saw that.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah. And it's fascinating because obviously it's existed forever, but it's good to have more press around it. But what cosmetic acupuncture actually does to the face and the body is that, first of all, it's holistic, right? Let's say we put a point right over here. This is called stomach 3.
Okay, so Dr. Felice is pointing right to the apple of her cheek.
Yeah, exactly. It's right below the pupil in line with the nostril. This point is called stomach 3. And it's called stomach 3 for a reason. Yes, it's on the face, but it also connects to the stomach. So this point we say is also amazing for digestion.
Which will help you lose weight.
Exactly, right? So it's all connected. And so by putting points, you're not just targeting the face itself, but you're targeting the whole body systemically. However, on the face itself, let's say you put a little facial acupuncture needle, and they're so thin, they're like, you know, hair thin. You know, you
Yeah,
could literally
yeah.
kind of move it. You don't really feel it. When they puncture the skin, they puncture the epidermis and the dermis, and what it does, it causes almost like a microtrauma inflammation situation where everything rushes to heal. But it's not to a point where you're doing microneedling where it's so much heat and inflammation where
Right,
it gets
right.
worse.
Yeah.
But because it's systemic and it works holistically, it's not causing more inflammation. It's healing it faster. And it also sends collagen signals so that certain parts of your face actually produce more collagen. That's why it's amazing for fine lines and wrinkles. Like I'll target, let's say, a forehead line or the 11 lines with just like a few acupuncture needles. And after a few sessions, they fill out because collagen is rushing to fill in those fine lines and wrinkles. And then for the whole point of, you know, snatching the face and feeling skinny.
Yes, and getting that jawline.
Because it drains everything, it moves everything. So let's say you put acupuncture points around the ears or the cheeks, for example, or around the jaw.
Yeah.
First, you're activating and opening all the channels that reach from your face to your feet. So everything is moving, right? But you're also targeting the lymph system. So you're doing both. And the lymph system is where we hold in water and everything that is like toxic and stuck in us. And so you're opening it for the first time.
All right, ladies, time to swap out our Botox for acupuncture on
Yes,
the face.
it's very effective.
And last time I was at your clinic, you did some ear seeding for me.
Yes.
Can you tell listeners about how that helps things like stress or insomnia or cravings?
Yes. Ear seeding, we say, is a way to emulate acupuncture needles on the ears. And it's a new way of saying, okay, it's like acupressure. You know how we kind of were massaging our thigh earlier? Instead of massaging the thigh, we're massaging the ears, but using ear seeds, so little beads that we stick to the ear to target this acupoint itself. So instead of a needle, you can stick this on certain points and massage it yourself so you activate it. And in Chinese medicine, the ear is a microsystem of the entire body, meaning the entire body is represented. I think I might have showed you like an upside down fetus or a body on the ear where like the face is on the lobe, the back goes around the edge, and the feet kind of go up to the top, like where the uterus is as well. And so every part of the body is represented on the ear. Like this ridge over here, for example, is the back. So a lot of people with back pain, this is red and inflamed. And when I press it or put an ear seed or put a needle, they're like, ooh, that's really sore. And so you can treat everything with the ears.
That is incredible. And actually, for the next couple days after I left your clinic, I did as you said. I would massage them, and you know, you feel stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, how many nerve endings are there in the ear?
Oh my God, so many. And when we think about the ears in Western medicine, the vagus nerve runs through it, right? And the vagus nerve is the important nerve. It's a cranial nerve that switches our nervous system from that sympathetic to the parasympathetic. And we can only heal in the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest. And so by massaging your ears or activating it, you're actually switching your body system to heal. And so that's why it's so calming for the body and healing.
Yeah, because I've noticed in the States, ear seeding really has taken off. I'd say this year.
Yes.
Would you say that?
Yeah, this year I think, you know, from viral videos, from people reacting to it, I think a lot for the visual of like it snatches my face, which is awesome because you're moving these channels for the first time through
Yeah.
points in the ears, right? Even doing back points, you're opening everything in your neck for the first time in your shoulders. So it is very effective, but it's much more than that, you know. It's healing, it's therapeutic.
Right. But if it makes us more beautiful in the process, then
Yeah.
plus 10
Why
points.
not? Yeah, exactly.
I feel that this TCM for beauty began really with gua sha. Like when I saw Kylie Jenner doing the gua sha, I was like, this is going to be a hit.
Yeah.
And now it's, moved on to so many things, including ear seeding. So everybody should give that a try. How does your skincare line Moonbow, of which we have a couple here, and I'm so excited to try it myself, how does Moonbow incorporate TCM principles?
So Moonbow is a line that I created with my twin sister, and I think the whole point was to share Chinese medicine with the world. And we can open it, and actually it's fun to open because you can...
So here we have a moisturizer, we have a soothing cleanser, and a boosting serum. Yeah, why don't you open one of them?
Let's say, okay, I love this one just because I love the packaging
moisturizer.
too. The moisturizer. So let's focus on this. So,
is this a pearl powder one?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, tell listeners about that.
And this is why it looks like a pearl. And so in Moonbow, we incorporate Chinese medicine herbs, right? As we talked about how your housekeeper literally got better by cooking and smelling and absorbing all of the, heat or the condensation. Herbs are so good for our body internally, but also externally. And again, modern research is finally catching up to say, oh my gosh, all of these traditional herbs actually work. Our hero ingredient is wild chrysanthemum or juhua, which we all drank in, dim sum houses because it's so anti-inflammatory for the body. It cools the system down.
Great in the summertime.
Exactly. And it's also great for the skin because a lot of skin issues, whether it's dryness, acne, any type of redness, rosacea, let's say eczema, we need something that's opposite to cool it down, but also to nourish it and repair your barrier. And that's what Chinese herbs do. And so in our moisturizer, we have chrysanthemum, which is what we just talked about, but also pearl powder, hence why it looks like a little pearl. And we love pearl powder because pearl powder in Chinese medicine is a herb that we used to take growing up as well, or I took during my acne journey to help reset my body, right? We say it's very grounding, so it helps with anxiety, but also helps clear the skin and heat in the body. But with herbs, as you know, it's not something I would take every day because it's based off your constitution, right? So let's say you take pearl powder for a year, it's going to shift your body into some, even further off balance. So it's dependent on your presentation.
So is there what is the nature of pearl powder? Is it warming? Is it cooling?
It's cooling and grounding.
Okay, cooling and grounding. Got it.
Yeah, because when you think about pearls, they come from the ocean. Ocean is cooling. But also for the skin, like emperors and empresses used to put pearl powder on their skin, like through masks or through skincare, because it creates that luminizing glow. It helps like whiten dark spots, but it also gives you that inside out beauty sheen. It also heals wounds. So in Chinese medicine, you can put pearl powder on like a wound or a scar and it helps heal it too. So that's why it's so good for beauty and face. Yeah, and this is it.
And I do feel that the Chinese emperors and empresses, they were really onto a lot of good stuff. Unlike the Western kings and queens who were using stuff that was really toxic. They were putting all sorts of stuff on their body. Now we're like, what? But hey, on the Chinese side, we're like, we're going to keep using those things.
Yeah, exactly.
And for our listeners out there, selling in Dr. Felice's clinic is my vagina care brand, Antivorta, which is also formulated with traditional Chinese medicinal herbs. How's it selling?
It's amazing. I mean, as you know, when you came for that event, people were loving it.
Yeah, we sold out in that event.
Yes. I think people are seeking more natural ways to really take care of vaginal health. It's so important in Western society, but it's not talked about enough. You go to CVS and you have all of those, pharmaceuticals, which again is just a band-aid solution, but where can you actually get to the root of it? Yeah.
And give us the name of your clinic. What's the address? We got to send people there.
It's called Felice Acupuncture in Culver City, and I have 3 other amazing practitioners who help support the clinic to help with all ailments, right? I think a lot of people will come to acupuncture and they're not sure what it's good for, and I have to say it's good for everything because it brings imbalances back into balance, and we have our own understanding of figuring out why you have a certain symptom, right? And so we have our pain specialists, our autoimmune specialists, our women's health specialists, gut specialists, skin specialists, right? And so everyone is great at everything, and everything's on the website.
And it's such a charming clinic. Is there a discount we can give our listeners today?
Absolutely. Yes.
Do you want to name it?
Yes.
I know we're kind of doing this off the cuff.
That's okay.
Didn't prep you at all.
We can make it Sara Jane. We can also do for Moonbow discounts, make it Sara Jane.
Yes. Okay. So check out Dr. Felice's acupuncture clinic. It's in Culver City. Say Sara Jane, and you will get 15% off of anything, whether it's Moonbow or Antivorta or an ear seeding or all the good stuff. I absolutely love her clinic. I'm gonna come by for a fire cupping. We'll do a reel out of it. And,
yes, and also through the website through Moonbow, Sara Jane as well will give you 15% off online. So
and
you don't
remember
have
that Sarah without an H.
Yes.
Okay, so if somebody is interested in learning more or starting with traditional Chinese medicine, where should they begin? Because for a lot of our listeners, they listen to this podcast because they're interested in it, but there are also a lot of people who are new to it and want to learn more.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's a lot of books out there, but can be dense. And this is actually the first time I've ever expressed this out loud at all. I'm actually creating a Chinese medicine course, like a 101 for beginners. Wow. It's been something I've been thinking about for a while, and I'm starting to record this weekend.
Oh my gosh.
It's going to launch in the new year.
Fantastic.
And it's basically 5 hours of content of what we say the 4 pillars. Heather and I, we were trying to break down.
Heather's your twin sister?
Yes, Heather's my twin sister who started Moonbo with me, and we've really kind of broken down what Chinese medicine means and how to make it more digestible through the 4 pillars, So you learn about acupuncture or acupressure. So again, DIY at home for certain ailments like constipation, diarrhea, but also understanding the different channels in the body. We're going to be talking about herbs and formulas, and again, what's in your kitchen and what you can make teas from to heal certain ailments. Food as medicine, where I share recipes, I'll cook with you, and things that you can eat during certain seasons, or again, if you have a bellyache, and then the lifestyle of it, where you're going to learn how to diagnose your tongue. I really broke it down into kind of the simple ways, how to understand certain things in your body from the yin and yang, the heat and the cold. I will be releasing that in the new year.
Well, let me know. I'd love to promote it on my Instagram for you and make sure all of our listeners check it out.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Felice, thank you for your time. We hope to have you back on again. Listeners, visit my YouTube channel to watch the full episode. And if you want to support the show, please do leave a rating and review. It will help new listeners discover us. I will be very grateful. Thank you for tuning in to Mind Your Manners. This is your host and etiquette life guide, Sara Jane Ho. And remember, no matter what life throws at you, with me in your ear, you got this.